Ultimate Spider-Man #1 by Jonathan Hickman and Marco Checchetto is a masterpiece. I have had a rather odd history with Spider-Man, specifically Peter Parker. I watched the Sam Raimi movies. I wasn't particularly fond of them, mostly because I kept feeling like they were way too cartoony. Like, Tobey Maguire was just way too cartoony. I know, hot take at times, but I did love a lot of some good things in it. Tobey Maguire, I felt like, was always the better Peter Parker to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and Tom Holland, in my honest opinion, was like a mix of the two, though he had his moments where, okay, you can have your debate about who's the best Spider-Man. Like, I've always seen that consensus going on throughout the timelines on the internet, where they debate who's the better Spider-Man, who's the better Peter Parker when it comes to these films. I get it, I really do, but everyone kind of agrees the comic side of Spider-Man, you poor man. Once upon a time, Peter Parker was married to Mary Jane. Yep, Peter Parker was married, and then about 2 decades later, they decide, we're gonna break them up with the most convoluted, contrived storyline we could ever devise. Because if we kill off MJ, that's not going to work. It would end badly. If we divorce them, that's going to end badly. So we need to find a way to separate them, even though you don't really need to. And here's the thing. Marvel Comics has, for some unknown reason, this insatiable hatred, I felt like, for Peter Parker in the main Marvel universe. Like, people were complaining about, why can't you just have Ultimate Spider-Man be the continued character that you want him to be, as opposed to wrecking main continuity that we followed for decades and decades? Why wreck him when you have the Ultimate Universe Peter Parker? And he was then killed off years later in a seminal moment for the Ultimate Universe, as the universe was falling apart after the events of Ultimatum. When they killed Ultimate Peter Parker off, that was a moment. We were shocked that they did that, and we knew this was probably going to stick. It didn't, because this is not the main continuity. This is to be possibility that he's not coming back, and we got the 41 flavors of awesomeness that was Miles Morales. Here's the thing. If Peter Parker, the main Spider-Man that we had, if they killed him out tomorrow and said he's not coming back, I wouldn't care. Like, his character has been wrecked, he's been miserable, to the point that I'm trying to wonder, how can anyone go through that multiple miseries and not go crazy? And every time when something gets built up for him, they tear it down next issue. I was cautiously optimistic about Spider-Man, because Ultimate Spider-Man is not the same Spider-Man we've been getting from the mainline titles. I was cautious. I didn't want to get disappointed. What they had was Hickman and Marco Checchetto going ahead and hopefully churning out a masterpiece, hopefully. It needs to be awesome. And then one day, I go on bleedingcool.com, checking stuff out, checking comic book news, and then something leaked. That not only is Hickman and Marco Checchetto doing this big run, they showed press images that Marvel later then sent out, showing Meet the Parkers. Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson, happily married and with kids. So I, as a content creator and as a fellow Marvel fan at times, specifically a Jonathan Hickman fan, I responded to this in the most mature, sophisticated way. As in, I posted a bunch of memes going ahead and cheering and crying and basically telling Spider-Man and Marvel Editorial and Nick Lowe to suck it, you all suck ass. Because this was the moment. When I heard all that stuff, the moment I saw those press release for Meet the Parkers, that's when I knew, yeah, it was Spider-Man he wanted to always work on. but Marvel wouldn't have let him do it. Because it's not that Hickman couldn't make a good Spider-Man run, it's just he couldn't make his own Spider-Man run on it. He couldn't do the Mary Jane marriage in the main continuity because Peter Parker can't be relatable being married and happy. That's impossible. We need him to be as miserable as possible. That's the only way people will represent and be related to him. Except now everyone hates him, so good job, Marvel. As Ultimate Spider-Man rises, the Amazing Spider-Man tanks across the board. And when this issue came out, hell broke loose. What I mean by that? Within 1 week, it already had a second printing announced. And long and behold, they kept saying it sold out everywhere. Every store they went to, it was sold out. All the best variants, all the covers were sold out, save for the super expensive ones that they didn't want to blow their entire paycheck on. That tells you everything you need to hear. The moment this happened, this was going to be crazy. And long and behold, I finally got an issue of Spider-Man with one of the variant costume teasers about 2 or 3 weeks after it had come out. Finally sat down, read it, and I'll explain to you in a sec, because oh boy. For some narrative context, after Ultimate Invasion, the Maker and his council decided to convene after the Maker had disappeared and was locked inside the city with Howard Stark, Kang the Conqueror of the Ultimate Universe, and a host of other people. They decided, okay, we need to do something. Our worldview, our world order has been at stake. Yeah, so we're probably screwed on that. We need a plan. And they try to find a way to divide America up so they can take over and redistribute it to the other factions within the council. Tony Stark, now Iron Lad, teams up with his premature Ultimate heroes, with Thor, Sif, yeah, that's her, I think it is, teaming up with Dr. Doom, aka Ultimate Reed Richards. Yeah, turns out, yeah, the Maker had killed the Fantastic Four before they became the Fantastic Four, and Reed Richards was imprisoned and became the new Dr. Doom of that universe. And they took a vault of stuff that the Maker had collected, repository devices, and all this tech, all this information that all would have made these heroes of this reality, and they managed to get one out after Thor got nearly killed, so congrats. The Maker's Council then convenes and says, with Tony Stark's act, he has just given them America. So the natural response was to activate a satellite that belonged to Obadiah Stane, and Howard Stark's company decided, okay, let's blow up New York. And they subsequently proceeded to violently blow up New York, because everything needs to happen in New York. Okay, yeah, that's annoying. Let's move on. When I had flipped open the first few pages of Ultimate Spider-Man, seeing Peter Parker, this middle-aged hero, this middle-aged guy just living a normal life, never having been Spider-Man, married to MJ, seeing his kids, I was reading it. I was just thinking, I need to read some more of this. And then we get to this moment at the Daily Bugle, like Peter Parker works there, and I was like, okay, yeah, he's gonna work there. Some things will never change. And then we hear J. Jonah Jameson screaming, Parker! What we got was Uncle Ben, alive and well, as the managing editor of the Daily Bugle. And J. Jonah Jameson is friends with him? He's buddies with Parker? He's having a bromance of sorts with Uncle Ben? What? Yeah, I was stunned. And J. Jonah Jameson and Uncle Ben bromance is possibly the best thing I've ever seen. And then, of course, we get the evil Kingpin. And Matt Murdock's also shown, and he's not Daredevil in this universe. He's just Father Murdock. It's pretty surreal to see. I don't even know if he's a lawyer in this timeline. During the big funeral, farewell, grieving process for the people who died in the New York attack from the council, though they blame Tony Stark for it. And of course, Harry Osborn's there, looking as pissed as usual about what happened. And then we learn more details about Parker and his backstory without ever being Spider-Man. Turns out he didn't really know much of Harry Osborn compared to the original Ultimate Spider-Man or in the main continuity. MJ doesn't even know him much. So I was like, okay, we're breaking more rules. We're really breaking more rules. And then, of course, Kingpin shows up at the Daily Bugle, revealing that he's trying to toe the line from them asking questions about the New York attacks, hinting that the Kingpin is in fact part of this whole charade with the council. And J. Jonah Jameson walks out and says he quits, and then Uncle Ben's being told, "Oh, we want you in charge, if you can toe the line." Uncle Ben just smiles, walks out, then stands next to J. Jonah Jameson in the elevator and just says, "What now?" as J. Jonah Jameson smiles. They then go get drunk, and I'm just like, is this real? Is J. Jonah Jameson being this happy and being this hilarious and being this fun? And then we get this tender moment where MJ talks to Peter Parker, talks to her husband. Awesome. And then we cut back to a day prior where Tony Stark contacts him 6 months in the future, comic books, and he gives Parker an offer, tells him that in that orb is the thing that you were supposed to be once upon a time, but people took it from you. Question is now, you have a choice. Do you want to continue being what you are now, a normal guy? You got a good job, you got a wife, you got kids, you understand you have the risks there, or do you want to reclaim who you were supposed to be? Parker then says to himself, "I want it," as he remembers the inspiration of his uncle telling him to wake up and MJ telling him to go get him, Tiger. So yeah, this was your host, Eric Brown of Neo Reality Collective, and this is the latest editorial piece, Ultimate Spider-Man #1 is a masterpiece. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, check out my other content in the description below, check out my playlist, check out my other editorial playlists, and I'll see y'all again next time. Oh god, this is going to be a fun ride. Very fun ride.